Jeremiah, you
Yeah,
texted us saying
I know.
you maybe have big news.
I do.
Uh, and so I'm excited to hear it. And by the
Yeah.
time this publishes, it should be public. So just this is being
Yes.
recorded, but anyway, by the time this publishes, it will have
Yep.
been posted, whatever this is. So
Yeah, exactly. So this is not public news yet, but will be soon. Yeah, but the very short version is that I'm a free agent as of July 1st. So I'm
wow.
out of No and Stamped, which I have very mixed feelings on, which I thought would make it a fun podcast episode. Yeah, it's different, right? Like different season, different time of life. But yeah, that's my news. So yeah,
Dude, let's fucking go.
yeah. The good thing is like this is a great time to be building. So there's that. But
This is the
yeah,
best time to be building.
yeah. Honestly, so
Wait.
uh,
How did this happen?
yeah, okay. So like yeah, backstory. I think most people have some context around this, but just so everybody knows. So I started No in the context of a company called Lunar Solar Group, which I know Rishabh, you know who they are. Um, we basically incubated that business out of there in 2020. So I was brought in. The idea for a survey tool wasn't really that wasn't my idea. That was an idea that was presented to me. And I said, yeah, cool. This sounds interesting. Let's take this and let's turn it into basically like a customer insights platform. So that was the whole premise of this. And the vision that we had was actually like much bigger than what we built. Honestly, still haven't gotten to that vision, which is like, to me, that's the saddest part of this is like, I had this vision I wanted to achieve and I'm not going to get to participate in that. I don't know that it won't happen. I don't think I'm not saying that's the case, but like, I'm no longer guiding that vision and directing it, which is that's like the hard part of this for me, and also the people. Obviously, I think when you work with people for so long, you have all these great relationships that ends up being challenging. But all that to say, started this thing. We went to raise money. We got connected to this company that was called WeCommerce, and they were a. I'm probably going to slightly misrepresent the actual business relationship here, but I think it was effectively like an offshoot. Let's call it a public entity that was funded by Tiny, which was a private company at the time, owned by Andrew Wilkinson, Chris Sparling, and I think they and some other folks funded this entity called WeCommerce. And WeCommerce was a themes business. They bought like shortly before we got connected with them, they bought Stamped, which was reviews platform, fastest growing reviews platform at the time. They bought something called 460. There was a few different apps that they bought, and this is like it's 2021, right? So peak commerce enablement moment in time. It was a blessing and a curse to have like raised money or tried to definitely a blessing to sell a business during that time. Blessing and a curse if you raised money during that time because the valuations are kind of crazy. And anyway, everything was way overvalued, just to be blunt. And that was the environment that we were in. So we were looking at raising money. We got connected to them. And basically they said, hey, we're not looking to invest, but we're interested in buying. And so that ended up being what happened. We decided that instead of raising a seed round to go build this further, we just sell the business. And so that was kind of the backstory. And so that got rolled into WeCommerce. I continued on as CEO. This is early 2022, March 2022. And then eventually WeCommerce merged with Tiny. Tiny became a public entity, some sort of like reverse takeover mechanism. Again, I don't know the business, like the actual legal pieces of this stuff. So I'm probably slightly misrepresenting it, but it was some sort of effective like reverse takeover of Tiny taking over WeCommerce. Tiny then becomes the public company in this context. WeCommerce is a subsidiary, and then I roll up under WeCommerce. And then Jordan, who had been CEO or whatever of WeCommerce at the time, I forget what his exact title, he ended up ultimately becoming the CEO of Tiny. And so I had, through all these years, this relationship with Jordan, who'd done the acquisition. He kind of was the Tiny CEO. And so it was kind of a seamless move from the WeCommerce world into the Tiny world. And we were part of this whole ecosystem. So that was kind of the thing. So anyway, Stamped and No both are owned by Tiny. I don't own those businesses. And yeah, so ultimately it's been kind of a wild ride. And it's been kind of fun too, because we had this, when we first started this podcast, there was like Rishabh, you've got the VC backed company, the fully bootstrapped company, the PE-ish sort of backed company. So it's kind of this interesting dynamic. So it's been fun to be on that side of things. And I've learned so much over the last 4 years. Ultimately like a little bit sad about this, but also like really grateful for the 4 years of experience there and just like seeing the inner workings of how this stuff works, getting to participate in M&A deals and all that kind of stuff, which is just like a whole world of things that I just never got to experience before.
That is wild. You're going to build something next, right?
Yes. I just don't know when exactly, if that makes sense. So I don't think I want to
No, it
take.
doesn't make sense. Dude,
I,
you want to
wait,
know why? Let me tell you why it doesn't
okay,
make
tell me
sense.
why. I give more context on that, but yes, please tell me why.
You think, see, this is the mistake everyone makes. You think two things when you're about to leave. One is I could use the break, and the second is I want to spend more time with my family. And here are the two mistakes. Mistake one, you think you need a break, and then you're 10 days into the break and you feel jittery.
Dude.
And you're like, these fingers are made for typing. That's just what they do. And so then you just open up the laptop and you just start cranking. And mistake number two, you want to spend time with your family, but then you learn your family kind of likes the time when you are working, and they kind of like it when you are working and productive versus annoying the hell out of them all the time.
I mean, that's what I was telling my wife last night because I was annoying her in more of a playful way, right? I wasn't like actually annoying her, but I was like, this is what the next 6 weeks is going to look like. She's like, yeah, it's funny you said that because I mean, obviously you went exactly where, I mean, this is what every like exited founder does as well, right? Like if you like exit your business and then I guess most people have an earnout period. So my earnout ended a long time ago, but it's effectively that, like an extended earnout period. I just kept working and doing more things in this context. But yeah, you get to the end of that and then it's like, yeah, you have decided you're going to take time off, which to be clear, I do intend to take some time off. But my plan is, so my oldest goes back to school in early August. We have a family vacation thing coming up here. So I'm basically like, okay, from end of family vacation to when she goes back to school is a month, a little over that. I'm taking that time off. I'm going to go sit at coffee shops and read books. I'm going to go on hikes. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to take my daughter. She wants to go fishing. I don't know why that's the thing that she really wants to do. We're going to go fishing.
Nice.
We're going to go do some things like that. She wants to go to the mountains and go stay in a cabin or something for a couple of days. So just do some fun things like that, which I think if it's a month, I think my family will be very happy about that. We'll see. And hopefully it's a
I'm so
contained
excited.
amount of time.
I'm so excited on July 21st to hear what is like literally like you're 10 days away from that month ending, or whatever it is, right? Like let's see, July 24th. Okay, so you're a week away from the month ending, and we'll be recording because it's a Friday.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that episode.
Okay, so here's what I'm allowing myself to like talk about, like take calls, chat, like think about things, but not do anything, if that makes sense. Because I think if I don't know, that seems reasonable, right? Like,
Yeah. No, I totally believe that you will not open Cowork and Codex, and once you have an idea, just start typing. Totally believable. Yeah, 100%. Of course you won't do that. Why would anyone in their right mind do that? Yeah.
right. Yeah. True.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I just got intensely jealous. I can't wait until my son wants to go fishing. That's gonna be such a good day. So
Yeah.
I hope you really enjoy it. I think there's nothing wrong with shutting the laptop lid and turning off
Yeah.
the computer and getting in the woods and do something fun. I
Yeah.
like thoughts.
Can I ask you a serious question?
Yeah.
And I mean, like joking aside, don't you think that the freedom? Well, I mean, and I mean this serious. So this is why I don't believe the break. The freedom. There are two types of people. It's the freedom to do nothing and the freedom to build whatever you want. And this is why I just don't believe that you're not going to build something in that time. Is because you've had no choice but to build things for no, and
Yeah.
not that you didn't enjoy it. I'm not, just to be clear, right?
There's massive
But it's
on that.
sorry.
There's massive constraints on that. Like there's so many
Exactly.
limitations to what I can actually do with my time. And ultimately it's just a time constraint that dictates all of that. But yeah.
Exactly. And so not dissimilar to like how people like read Wikipedia for fun. Like there are people who just like to build things for fun. And that's what I think, that's why I'm saying it's hard to believe that you're not going to be building things. It's not going to feel like work, just to be clear. And because it isn't. But I just don't believe that like your version of play does not include building things that you get joy out of.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like, honestly, like for me to not build anything would take a lot of self-control. So it is possible that I don't build anything, but that is not going to be because I don't want to. So I'll just leave it at that. Like, I don't know. I think you're right. Like, I think the inclination is to build something. I'm trying to get like a pretty good reset because it's been, I mean, honestly, I haven't taken more than a week off of work at a time since I was 18. Like that's the longest period of time I've been like had like disconnected from this thing. And then typically in that context, I still have a job. It's not like I'm not thinking about the thing that I need to be working on. So yeah, I mean, it's just like in this context, it'll be nice, I think, to just be like, okay, there's no Slack, there's no email, there's nothing like that to log into.
Yeah, the digital crickets will be chirping.
Well, I think probably I'm gonna just be on X and
That's the okay. I mean, that's much worse than just like. Oh.
yeah, but now I gotta go find some income. So it's not a.
You're gonna see a flurry of tweets from Jeremiah asking what Famat does. Right, he's gonna be there with Zane and Cody.
What does Famat do?
Oh God, dude, that would be so funny if like at the end of July, like what has happened is you've just become like a Twitter brain rot, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I can't imagine a worse outcome. Man.
No, I don't think that's the case. But it would be fun to kind of like I mean, honestly, the last year has been so intense. I just have stopped engaging on social media really. Not 100%, but like I've kept my engagement there by 95%. I don't really post anymore. There's just too much like just buried in the daily grind, and I had not really feeling like things were in a good enough spot. Like there's so much chaos that I've been managing that like going and posting on social media just doesn't feel like respectful, I think, for lack of a better term. So now I have the freedom to do that as well.
It's also not fun. Like I see it all the time because every now and then I open up X and I have a separate list of like stuff that I actually like to read. And then I have my feed of all the people that I follow. And every now and then I open up the follow feed. I'm like, what are you guys doing? You spend all day just like tweeting about, and don't get me wrong, they clearly love it, right? So each to their own.
It is true that I actually think that's gotten worse in the last year as well. Like at the same time that I've stopped engaging as much, social media has gotten worse. So, which it was already bad.
I mean, yeah, each to their own. I really like, oh, guys. Okay, so this since we're on this topic, I might as well let's take a break to look at the social media that I enjoy. Have you guys seen this?
What is that?
Someone sent this to me. You got to see it.
In 30 days, what would you do?
Really easy. You've heard of your dogs and cats, right? You've heard of that?
Yeah.
So I would go on AI and I would ask, what's the next dog or cat? What's the next animal that's going to go viral? And it might say something like bird. All right. Now I know, create an app that generates pictures of bird. We look at different countries and which markets have not seen certain birds yet. For example, Canadian geese, they haven't seen that in Mexico.
How are you getting to the 100K?
So that all the bird work like that I was just talking about, that's going to get you probably to like 20Ks a month. So you just got to do that 5 times in a month.
5 different animals?
Correct.
What do you think are the 5 animals?
Bird, turtle, wizard. I think big and small wizards can be their own separate ones because there's different, they kind of vary a lot. And then what's the one that looks like it's like a turtle, but it's kind of a dog too? Armadillo.
You have to make 100.
So yeah, this is the
What? Dude, how is that better?
Someone said this to me, and I was like, "Oh, that's great. That's I don't know. If I'm going to spend any time on my phone that's not productive, I want to laugh. Yeah, I don't want to like see a Twitter beef argument about people's opinions. Like, I mean, each to their own, but yeah, not for me.
Okay, fair enough. That's so funny.
Yeah,
that was A+ humor, by the way.
Oh, so good. The person who sent that to me also sent me the glasses on Amazon, and he was like, "You got to turn up to this asshole preacher's wearing these glasses." I was like, "That's a good idea. That's a funny idea." I've actually, on the topic of like, what do you do next? I've spent a lot of time thinking about this because obviously I went a very opposite direction to you, Jeremiah. When I sold my first business, I was much younger and much more reckless and silly. So I spent a few years partying, but years. Right, and the guys, we have to. I should really specify. It was like 4 to 6, 7 nights a week. I was out, right, and I was having a good time. It was fun. It was how I met my fiance. But it's a direction that some people can take, right? Like if you no longer have any demand for resources or I don't know purpose, whatever it is that people are looking for, then there's no reason to provide supply. I've got everything I need, and now I'm going to have fun. But I was young. Right now, at this age, Jeremiah, you're much more sensible, and maybe you were never that ridiculous when you were young. I was, but yeah, you still have that decision, right? Do I go and do something that is do I have a demand for resources? Do I have a demand for purpose, for like doing something fun? Do I want to? Do I genuinely enjoy building and go and do that again? Or do I actually have like more of a demand for, spending time with my family, right? And fishing and, going and camping in the woods, right? At least for some amount of time and in some dose, you've earned it, right? I can tell you from like my experience, like literally 3 years of just goofing around and partying, going to nightclubs and being very silly, um, and beach bars and it was you can do it, right? Like young people can do it. You can spend your whole 20s doing that, right? So yeah, if you're not drinking alcohol and you're fishing, you could do that for years, right? And that would be perfectly fine. But yeah, I think it's a supply and demand thing. I call it like when I've thought about this in the past, I think about it in the context of spoiled children or first-time founders, right? First-time founders inundated with resources, spoiled children inundated with resources, and then you're not hungry anymore, right? And if you're not hungry, why would you go get food? You have no demand to provide supply to. Your reservation rate becomes so much higher, right? But does that make sense to you guys? Reservation rate increasing as you no longer have those demands. I think that the one demand that you can't shake if you're a founder, if you actually enjoy building, is the process of building, right? Like actually wanting to contribute, actually wanting to do something cool, right?
Like the things that are going to matter most to me over the course of my life are like I've been thinking a lot about this lately, like meaning and purpose and all of that kind of stuff. For me, at the end of the day, money doesn't matter that much. Like there's a threshold there, right? Like, and I say that as somebody who doesn't have that much money. So maybe if I had more, I'd feel differently. But like I don't know, like if I had, let's say I had a net worth of like $5 million, the amount of money that I would have in that context would be enough to fund my lifestyle for the rest of my life. And that would be fine. I wouldn't mind having more than that, obviously. Like it's the lifestyle I live now is like, 1 or 2 vacations a year, maybe. Kids are taken care of. We're not putting our kids in private school. We're not doing things like that. But like we're fine. Like we live well. We never have to worry about what we're going to eat, where we're going to go, those kinds of things, right? So that's like the lifestyle at which like I feel good. I don't feel like I need more than that. And below that, I feel like I don't have enough money. But beyond that, I don't think the money part matters too much, right? So there's that aspect. But one thing I think is really interesting, I think we've actually talked about this a little bit on the podcast. Like at the same time, there's almost like this scoreboard thing that happens with money, right? So like if you want to show, I do care about building something meaningful. And I think in the world of capitalism, there's like a scoreboard effect where like if I go out and build a $10 billion company, obviously that creates a massive amount of wealth for me, which I don't really care about that wealth, but I would care about building a $10 billion company, right? Like that's a cool thing. That's a cool achievement and something that I would prefer to do that than to build a $5 million company, even if I only really care about $5 million and not 10 billion, right? So I've been thinking about that kind of stuff a lot. Like, what does that actually look like? I've been thinking about the fact that like at the end of the day, my kids are going to care more about the time I spend with them than the successes I have. I mean, even now, I think, like, your kids are probably old enough that you're starting to see a little bit of this. Like, they don't care what you do. They have no, like, it's just like, whatever. Like, I care that dad is like hanging out with me playing. It doesn't even have to be like a massive amount of time. It's just like the engagement, the activity, all those kinds of things that you spend with them. That's the kind of stuff that matters. And so I think like the presence with my family, I think is something I really care about a lot. And I think that's something I really struggle with. Like I really have a hard time disconnecting from my work and being fully present. And so one of the things I'm really looking forward to trying to do in the next few months is figure out how to be better at that. It's like a good reset opportunity to see like, okay, how can I like build some better practices now so that the next thing I go into, I'm just better at that. And that's been like the skill that I've developed a little bit more. So I've been thinking about that a lot. And then the other thing I've been thinking about a lot is, again, going back to this idea of like, what is wealth building actually? And like this kind of scoreboard mentality. I think a lot of what we see is driven by that. Like founders want to be successful. They want to show their success. They want to have they want to show the impact of that. And the way that you show that is ultimately the valuation of the business. But at the same time, like I've spent my career building wealth for people who are wealthier than me. Like not at this point, it's not like a massive amount, but we're talking about tens of millions of dollars in wealth that I've created for people who are already wealthy. And there's nothing wrong with that. But like just to be honest, and at some point I'll get into this a little bit more when I'm ready. But the thing that I want to do next is actually the opposite. I want to build wealth for people who have less than me. And what does that look like? And so really like flipping that, because ultimately I want to build something that is massively impactful, that has that kind of scoreboard effect, but actually kind of goes and looks at what could it look like to inverse where the value is going, while I still get to be the one that said, hey, I'm building this thing that's worth tens of billions of dollars. So very short version. I don't know when I'm doing this, but I'm going to go out and try to raise money and build something new. So I'm going to go the VC route. I'm not going to bootstrap. I'm going to go like, yeah, it's going to be interesting. So I'm like, hey, I'm 35. This is the decade. Well, maybe I'm partway through it, but anyway, like the next like 10 years, I feel like it's the time to like really try to swing big and go for something big. But I've been thinking a lot about like how I actually want that to look and what are the incentives I want to build into that. So, yeah. And that's like personal level and business level, and also like just impact of the business level.
Yeah, I think there's like, I mean, there's a bunch of things in there. The first thing I'm curious about is your framing on like intentionality of time with, look, my kids are only 5 and 2. And so it might change, but I am not sure that the quantity of time is as relevant as what you do in that time.
I completely agree.
Because I have observed, interestingly, that it could be 15 minutes, but if I'm like having a dance party with my daughters for those 15 minutes, the shift in their view of that day is like way higher than if I'm spending 90 minutes, but I'm running after them trying to get them to eat, right? Like that's the prototypical parent like time trade, right? Those 90 minutes did nothing for them.
And they don't feel good about you doing that to them for 90 minutes.
But you've spent 90.
Yeah.
So it's like, what am I doing here? Right? Like someone else should have done that. Right. So anyway, that's one thing that I like, at least my so far learning is that.
Yeah, which I agree. I think that, the thing that I really struggle with is like kids are in the bath and I'm like checking Slack, and as opposed to like interacting with them when I should be, things like that, where it's like, I don't think that's actually wrong all the time, but that's my default in a lot of those cases, and it shouldn't be, if that makes sense. So it's just like there are moments when it's like there's actually something going on. I really need to deal with this thing, and I need to be on Slack right now, interacting and dealing with what's going on, as opposed to really like giving my kids all the attention. But when that's the default and it doesn't have to be, there's a problem there. So I think that's my challenge, and one of the things I want to get better at is just like figuring out how to like, if I can fully shut that off and get like into what I think is a better way of doing that, then I think when I go back to building, I'll be better at that, if that makes sense. I'm not a very balanced person. And I mean, I try to be, but like, it's hard to.
Yeah, I think like, at least for me, the only way that I can get there, everyone's different, but physicality is the only way I can get there, which is why I use the dance example. Also working out, like physicality is the only way I can shift my head.
Which I think
and
makes
if it
sense.
isn't,
it's a very logical thing. Like it puts you in a different mode.
The other thing that I was thinking about as you were saying, like on the impact, I personally don't feel the way you feel about where the impact lands. And I liken it to the housing debate where people are like, oh, we have to build more affordable housing. And it's like, no, actually, you just need to build more.
More houses.
Just build everything. Build super luxury condo, build whatever the heck you want.
The market will take the price in that context.
Because and then also when someone else consumes something else, it like the thing that they were previously consuming is now available for other people to consume. I'm not like saying it's trickle down per se, but I'm just saying by definition, right? It's just like you just increase supply, and whoever consumes it. And so my only question to you is like, I wonder if the objective function should be, I want to maximize impact on the most number of people. But the moment you start to put any constraint, which is like not wealthier than, like that sort of thing.
Yeah. I guess to be clear, that's not like a hard constraint. It's more about like creating something that has the ability to impact people. If that makes sense. Yeah. It's more of just like a flip in the framing for me of, it's about quantity of people in this context. Yeah, this is an idea I've been working on for like 7 years. It actually predates No, and it's gone through in my mind a lot of different iterations, but it keeps getting better in my mind every year, which is a good sign. I created a rule for myself, I don't know how long ago, 5 to 10 years ago, where it's like, okay, I'm not building anything unless it's been an idea for an extended period of time. I don't have like a hard rule on that, but like I need to think it's a good idea 3 months from now, months from now, because if it's not, then I don't want to waste my time, basically. And for me, I'm sure you guys are the same way. Like, I have a new idea every day of something that would be cool. But like the reality is I shouldn't spend my time on 99% of those. So that's yeah. So anyway, this concept, I think, I mean, I would tell you guys, but I don't want to talk about it publicly yet. So we can talk about it later. But anyway, the idea is not that I like would put a restraint like that. It's more about creating the right incentives to enable a different type of behavior.
Well, this is super exciting, man. I can't wait for this one to go live and for people to hear about, like, yeah, how you did the build, how you decide, like, what you're doing, how you're deciding what to do next. It's going to be, I think it'll create a lot of thoughts for lots of people in this situation. So,
Yeah, I hope so. So yeah.
Guys, quickly before we break here, do you know how much it costs to fly a plane one time for like 5 to 7 hours?
5 to 7 hours. I mean, for
Yeah,
an
like,
hour, it's like
like across the
a few $100.
You're
Oh, wait,
talking
you're
about-
talking about United? Are you
To
talking about
operate
like how much it costs?
to operate a commercial flight for like
Oh, yeah.
5
Oh
hours.
yeah,
Yeah.
like 200K.
Oh yeah, that's a lot higher than I thought it was. I thought it was like closer to 50K, but maybe it is 200K. How many tickets do you have to sell? How many people do you have to serve to make whole on that commercial flight? You have to sell a lot. That like
No,
what I'm trying to like no, one flight.
no,
Try
yeah.
you would have
only
to
need
have
to fill
some-
business class.
Really for the
Yeah.
I bought a business class ticket. I don't know how many business seats there are, but they wouldn't reach 200K. I mean, unless the whole plane's business.
But you're saying that's how that's how airlines try to make it work. Is that what you're saying? Like that's their math.
Well, yeah. What I'm trying to get at is that, like, if you just getting a plane into existence takes like 9 years, right? For engineers to build, and someone has to fund that entire production. They have to put food on someone's table to make sure that that plane can get built. And then even when the plane is built, it costs maybe 50K, maybe 200K to operate. And you literally, unless it's a private flight and somebody is spending inordinate amounts of money to fly, you have to serve a lot of people to make that make sense, right? You have to serve at least the whole of business class. And you have to serve them well because they have high demands around the quality of their flight, right? In exchange for the price. It just doesn't work. The economics don't work when you just serve a small amount of people. You have to continually serve loads and loads of people to make, back on the capex and then even just to make back on each individual commercial flight. I think, I don't know. I think this is interesting. I didn't know how expensive.
Actually, Jack, this is
Mhm.
actually super relevant to the point that I was talking to about with Jeremiah. So the reason I said it's the business class seats, by the way, is like my prototypical 6-hour flight is SF to New York. There are 4 by 8. So there are like 75 business class seats on United.
You've
There
done this time.
are, yeah, and also I checked with Claude. Okay. And there are like roughly 40 seats, whatever, maybe 25 seats in premium plus, and then there's like 100 in economy. The business class alone covers the cost of operating the flight, which is actually my point. Like and in fact, if you only filled economy, you would not make money. And so, like, my point on production for a lot of people is sort of this: is you should let a set of people, quote unquote, subsidize everyone else, and the best products do that. Gaming, ads, like all free consumer products, right? Airlines, actually, literally, and I think that's like the beautiful thing about the economy. Like that's the beautiful thing is you can produce a product in a way in which serves a large number of people by having price be a lever that gives you the ability to then produce that product for even more people at a price that they can pay. But if you were only building for them, you would never make the product work, which is like this sort of like Spirit Airlines joke, right? Like, or whatever it is, Ryan, and
Right.
things like that, right? Like,
Right.
like the profitable airlines are the ones that have service segments that are very high on the wealth curve. And that, I mean, like, look, I'm not here to say like we should build for wealthy people. That's like not my point. My point is that the production and the way you get the economics to work, you can make it work because there's a class of people who are willing to pay much more. And sorry, I was wrong on the numbers. It is like closer to 50 to 100 on the 6 hour. The 200 is the Emirates flight from here to Dubai. which I've
It's
also
still in the
done
tens
the
of
math
thousands.
on.
And that
Yeah,
only
yeah,
works
yeah, yeah,
when you serve an
yeah,
inordinate amount of people. You have to serve so many people
yeah.
well over like multiple times. Right? You can't have planes going down in Malaysia or like, pilots crashing planes and stuff like that. That doesn't work, right? Things are, going to turn sour.
I don't think it was the pilot. I don't think.
Did you not hear there was like it might have been in Toronto. It might have been, I don't know. There was some pilot that like absolutely messed up the landing and the airline, suffered for it. But like, every now and then there's something that happens in one of these situations and it's a huge amount of pain for the airline. You have to continually serve people perfectly at scale in order for the business to work. And so many businesses are like this, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I agree with that, by the way. So I think it is a beautiful thing that basically like you can create something that if you can create something that you let different people value differently, that's a good thing. And like a flight is a good example of that. I'm not going to pay $2,000 to get on a plane and fly somewhere. I want to pay $300. But
I do too. But
yeah,
this is
I'm
why having
thankful.
kids is expensive because your wife will convince you, why would we spend $300 and spend an extra 4 hours on the plane and change planes? So it's like, okay, fine. We'll spend the extra $400. And then she's like, well, do we want a stranger sitting next to us on the plane? No, we want a 2-row aisle. So this is why kids are expensive. Your wife will convince you to
Dude, kids
spend
are
as much
so
money as
expensive.
possible.
The way
Yeah.
we used to travel, like just travel, the way we traveled before kids versus now is completely different. And it literally is like 2 to 3 times as expensive.
Right. I used to get on planes that would take like 12 hours to get to the destination. And I'd be like, flights would get canceled and I'd have to sleep in an airport. I'd be like, this is fine. Right. But then, my much more rational fiance told me, hey, no, cut this out. None of this bullshit.
I don't even want to say what we do. That's like, yeah. Here's what I will say. When I was in like high school and college, I have done insane things. Like there's like a class of a train in India. It's called unconfirmed. So you don't even have a real seat. You just kind of get in there. And then you just like, I'm like sleeping like this, basically, on like a wooden bench on a train overnight, spending like less than $2 a night in a hotel. Like, I mean, like, I used to travel. I mean, like, this is also why I am like so risk on. I have no fear of having nothing because I have lived with nothing and it is no effing problem. No problem. Like, I can go to, like, there are people who are like, hey, I don't want to go to zero. I'm like, dude, I have no problem with zero. I was at zero for so long. I have no problem with zero.
I agree, but I also feel less that way now than I did pre-kids. Is that true for you also? No, you're the same.
You're industrious enough to know that zero doesn't really exist, right? Like you could go to zero, but you would be up at above zero in days, right? So I think that you've got a safety net, and it's because you're capable, right?
Correct. I was gonna, yeah. So Jack hit the nail on the head. It's not exact. Yeah. So let me correct myself. It's not that I want to live at zero. It's that I have no fear of zero. Yeah. Those are not the same thing. Just to be clear.
Actually, this is kind of a fun entry topic. Do you guys remember like how crappy all internet technology was 20 years ago? And then like there was a certain amount of pain that you felt with that, right? But it's like now things actually work well. Like they work extremely well compared to 20 years ago. Like it's actually unimaginable. The way you experience that then or now is basically unimaginable. But yeah, there's so many things like this. Like the fact that the Riverside recording doesn't work properly until you exit the thing and re-enter it. That's just so annoying in this context, but would have felt like such a small thing 20 years ago in comparison to all of the things we have access to. It's just like interesting how perspective shifts over time and how we see things totally differently. And that
No, dude, I gotta use this to say AI. Dude, you want to know what scares the hell out of me? This is happening to me with AI workflows. But the problem is that the adoption is so unevenly distributed that I think one thing that is like super far away than what other people think.
Yeah.
And then there's like Jacob Posel who thinks a different thing that's like all, who's like all the way over here. And I'm like, and then there's like Andre who's like loops and he's like, you can't even reach him. Yeah, that's the scariest part is like, yes, 20 years ago that was unimaginable, but actually we are living it right now with this one technology. And what I think is unimaginable is another person's real life today. That's even scarier. That's even scarier.
Dude, that is true. That is wild because like, I mean, we've talked about this some on here, but like most people are generally using AI like we used AI 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, we just spoke about this. Yeah, 100%.
It's just
Yeah.
like if that's the frame of reference for AI usage, and then you are where you are today, those are worlds apart. It's not 2.5 years apart. It's like
A fundamental different understanding of what AI is.
Can I tell you something
I
that?
have,
So
right?
I can't say the name of this customer. Obviously, there's a public company brand where someone on the C-suite is someone who I am now close to. We've like built a relationship over sort of getting to know each other in a work context, and now I would consider this person a friend. But that person texted me saying, "Hey, I was telling our CEO about Rishbot. You guys know Rishbot, like my bot
Yeah,
that the team interacts with when they have questions or whatever." Okay, I was telling my CEO about Rishbot, and like they were astonished that this is even possible. And so I want you to come and present to, and then the set of people is all of the officers of the company, and this is a public company about like how to operate in this way. This is the distinction that I'm talking about. That's scary because it's not even like a. This is like it transcends like all of the traditional boundaries that you would expect, right? It's not like a hey, oh, like the benefit is accruing to the wealthy people. It's like no, no, no. The officers of a public company are in the wealthy category. This has nothing to do with wealth, right? It transcends age, right? It's just like very fascinating how
I,
this plays out.
I would say it even transcends like, I think there's kind of an idea of people are harder working, for lack of a term, versus like people that are lazier. There's a spectrum there, but it it transcends that as well, right? Like there's a ton of like really ambitious, hardworking people that are in different places on that too, and there's different reasons for that. They're too busy with the things they've got going on a daily basis to think about this stuff, or there's a learning curve there that they just don't feel like they have time for, whatever those things are. Like it even transcends that. It's not like there's just so it's like a yeah, it's like a very I mean, it's like anything, I guess. There's like a it's not like anything. Like the bell curve of adoption on an iPhone, for example, I'm sure was like leaned very much towards wealthier people initially, right?
Wealthy and like tech curious,
Yep. But you can
right?
be tech curious and wealthy and not be very far on the AI adoption curve.
Exactly. Exactly. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, it is kind of
That
wild.
it's like that like this whatever, this like technical glitch or whatever. It's like playing out in real time. Like
Dude,
and it's just like and like you can't tell. You can't tell when you talk to someone where they are on the curve. You have no idea.
I've got a story here that I just heard yesterday, and I won't share too much because it's not really my story to tell, but I'll share a version of this. So there's a person who is a mechanic, basically, who said, "I'm sick of this." Spent 6 months learning how to code. Now obviously has AI. This is all in like the last 18 months. Saw a gap in a market and now has built a solo company that's going to do 3 million in revenue this year, on pace on a $10 million revenue run rate by himself. And he cannot do the work fast enough because he's executing his contract so fast. And he basically like needs some people to go like implement this thing. But he basically built his own software company in less than a year and is now on track to do fully bootstrapped 10 million in ARR next year. Like that's just by himself. No, not a single employee. That's the world in which we're living, right? Like I knew nothing about technology 12 months ago.
One of the things we talk about a lot is the state of things right now, and our understanding of it, right? You were talking about a second ago, Rashab, how other people's real world right now is something that might be unimaginable to us, right? We talk about this a lot, right? Like where things are at now and how fast it's developing. I think we're in the worst time ever to be alive. And the future is going to be so much better in all ways, right? And of course, there's going to be like a little bit of a separation of those people who don't and those people who do, and they use all the tools. And it's always been there, right? Just with the available tools that were there. But I think we're going to see so much abundance, so much deflation. I think that we're going to see the demonetization of property, of homes, right? Homes are just rapidly going to get cheaper. This is I don't really like making predictions, but this is my prediction. I think that everything is rapidly going to get cheaper, and the living standards of people, not just in the US, but overseas as well, unless there's war. Unless there's war, I think it's going to get significantly better and rapidly because of AI. and not just because of AI, for all of the different uses of AI, right? Like you would think, and it's I guess it's normal to think that this is a bit of a bubble that's affecting the tech world, right? You know, some people have commented on the fact that, you know, AI's attention to code is because the people who are building the AI are coders, right? They're developers. But yeah, you've got a mechanic here building a 10 million ARR business in a few months, right?
And the person who told
I
me
imagine this.
yeah, the person who told me this story is a friend who owns a service business who's also using AI to run parts of his business, to do all of his marketing, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Right. I think that, you know, we were talking about reservation rates before. I think the reservation rate of the person who retires early because they're no longer useful in the workforce, or they, you know, they're done, right? They're done. They're just like, okay, there's just so much wealth for me to enjoy, and maybe, you know, that's you know, enjoyed in a variety of ways, you know, adaptive, maladaptive. You know, the choice is theirs, but I think we're on the cusp of like rapid increases in wealth for, you know, the majority of people. I wouldn't be super excited if I had like a massive real estate portfolio. I think that would be, you know, I'm not so bullish on real estate continuing to be on the way up for as long as it's priced in dollars. It could continue to go up if it's priced in dollars, but yeah, if there's any significant changes in how these things are priced, yeah, very, very optimistic.
I mean, on that front, though, you still have a supply and demand issue, right? So I think there's like I agree with you that I think those things could go down, but I don't think it's like real estate drops by 50%. I also don't know that much.
Right. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? But I'm making a prediction of like the future, and this could be 5, it could be 10 years. But I think that, you know, capital will fly away from homes because they lack saleability, right? You actually have to find someone who wants to live in that place if you want to sell it, or somebody else who wants to own it as an investment property. And then, yeah, well, why would you if you have better assets, harder assets, less regulated assets, right? That appreciate much faster, right? So I don't know. I think that there could be massive demonetization because people are using homes as bank accounts right now, right? So yeah, what happens if they have better options for bank accounts that drive better returns and are more saleable? Yeah, I think that, yeah, who knows? Who knows? I might be completely wrong, but you're right. Demand, right? If demand continues to just skyrocket and we print and print and print more dollars, then that's more demand that's chasing the same, or, you know, a slowing pool of homes, right? There are only so many homes, and there are only, you know, it takes a while to build a house. So for as long as it's priced in dollars, yeah, maybe the price continues to climb. But yeah, priced in gold, priced in different assets that hopefully the vast majority of the general public gets access to. I think that yeah, we're about to see rapid deflation of everything.
What this story is also saying is that this person moved themselves from selling their time to like building a productive asset, which is this business. So that's one thing that I think is going to continue to increase. The other thing though that I think is worth considering is, and like I'm dealing with this right now because we're trying to move from the city to the peninsula in the Bay Area. So like from San Francisco to like, I don't know, like Redwood City, Menlo Park, whatever, that's somewhere in that area. The total amount of wealth in this area is like I don't know how to describe it. It is insane. It's insane. Like
I mean, middle class there is like a what, $500,000 to $1 million a year salary.
oh yeah. Yours okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna say $500,000 to $1 million. I was like, what are we talking about?
No, salary, not net worth.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll give an example. We put an offer for renting a place last weekend, I want to say. Long story short, they had multiple offers. It went for well over what they were asking. And someone offered to pay the whole year upfront. And this is the type of thing that is like yeah, and so anyway, so now we're like rethinking our offer strategy and like what should we do and how should we do it and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, the point is you have never been able to make a productive asset yourself faster. Those productive assets have never been able to grow faster. And yeah, I think it just makes you wonder, like, and the place, like in this area, there's lots of people doing this. And so the impact of that is like, you can just see it happen really, really, really fast. But the encouraging thing is like more people should be building these productive assets super fast. And that'll be awesome, honestly. Yeah, I can't think of anything better.
By the way, I cannot imagine a rental market where people are paying a year upfront in cash. That's just wild to me. And over asking on the rental amounts. It's insane.
Yeah, I can't give details on the strategies that we are considering in order to compete in this market. But yeah, I just would not have thought of like some of these ideas if I were not put in this situation.
Yeah. But when I bought my house, we did a bunch of that kind of like crazy stuff, right? Like offer over asking and um, waiving the inspection. Like, we did something where it was like anything in our inspection up to a certain amount, we waived that and just a bunch of things like that to make it really attractive to the seller. But that was to buy an asset. That was at least in theory, this thing that can create value over time. I can't imagine doing that to live in a place for a year. Anyway.
Yeah. It's a thing, man. It's quite the thing. The other thing that I'll say is in markets like these, when there's so much that can be built, I think another thing that people underestimate is how many different ways you can create wealth or become part of a productive asset that is not just simply like, hey, you need to go. I mean, the goal is like build a business, and that's awesome. And you should just do that if you can do that. But it has like such positive side effects that it's like really hard to to overstate those side effects. So I'll give like a few examples from like things that I'm seeing. So one example is there's now like becoming more popular and like in the X world that we see somewhat often of like building these like one person brands, right? Or like hyper AI brands, right? So I don't know if you guys know, but like it sure seems like the OpEx. I keep talking about Cody. We should have Cody on actually to talk about building software. So he's like
Right.
not allowed to talk about the brand, but I would love to have him talk about building software. I think that would actually be super interesting because I'm very curious to get his perspective. But I think like his OpEx is going to go down. Like, I mean, I think it's going to like look like this. It's going to be like a straight line down, which is going to be like, I mean, he will create so much enterprise value in doing that. I think it'll like shock people if and when he decides to exit Jones Road in some way. So anyway, I think that
Brian Kamo is going all in on this as well from True Classic. Did you guys see that? Brian Kamo?
I don't want to overshare though, because I don't know what he shared. He's a good friend and I don't want to share anything that he hasn't shared publicly. That's why I did not say anything.
Well, yeah, I don't know if you've seen some subject, but my understanding was it sounds almost like a venture studio sort of approach, based on what he shared publicly. But I don't know if that's actually the case. But anyway, like going all in on the AI stuff is very interesting. There. One question I have though. So Cody, let's just use him as an example. The OpEx piece, right? OpEx goes down, but isn't that just going to make like these businesses survive based on ad dollars, deployments, and the ability to acquire customers by deploying dollars into paid ads? If there's probably some initial alpha here where like if you reduce your OpEx enough, you have the ability to spend more money, you have the ability to acquire more customers. But ultimately in the long run, doesn't that just make paid ads more competitive? The fact that
I don't think it's
brands have more OpEx dollars to put towards advertising.
Maybe, but I think it also creates consumer surplus. Like I think that part of the surplus goes to the consumer. Now, I mean, let's set aside, for example, Cody's beliefs about how to do offers and things like that for his particular brand. But an ad, so like let's use DoorDash as an example, because it's like the best articulation of this. When you spend money on ads in DoorDash, that money gets distributed in two ways. One is placement and the other is offers. And so between those two, you create consumer surplus. And so when you can lean out OpEx from the company, you create consumer surplus, which is actually my bigger point around like the ripple effects of like, yes, it'll help the business and the business will grow and all that sort of stuff. But I bet you this mechanic example that you gave, I bet you his customers are getting way more value. Like the only way you grow that fast, by the way, is that the total value you've created for your consumer is ridiculous. That's the only way you grow that fast. And so and so like, yes, some of it will get spent on CAC, but some of it will just get spent on out competing, which is basically like lower prices for consumers, which is then you get better goods to consumers and you get it to those consumers faster. You've created a huge amount of consumer surplus. And that's actually my bigger point is like when you can do something like lean out OpEx from inside of a company, you're just creating consumer surplus. And those are the types of things. Now it has this other side effect, which is like, it is showing people what's possible, which then has like other sort of societal good effects. But I think that's why it's underestimated the total like net benefit of this way of operating.
Is there a through line here between that mechanic moving from trading his time for money to building something that gives him leverage in technology that enables productive capital. Is there a through line between that and what we're seeing in OpEx's shrink in businesses, right? Because they're no longer actually funding time leverage, right? Individuals who are paid for their ability to, expend extra time on things that can like routinely be automated. It seems like this is all, a shift towards efficiency, right? Time is not the thing that, time leverage from, people set about tasks is not the thing that's going to, and it's a huge bucket of expense right now, but it's not the thing either in the individual who's succeeding, in their own right, but then also in these businesses who are seeing shrinking OpEx. That is less valuable. Something else is more valuable. And yeah, maybe that, expresses itself in ads, but yeah, maybe there's a through line now. I'm not sure. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's a yes and. Yes, it is efficiency. Yes, also it's a productivity increase. You don't need that productivity increase to be homogenous. It's fine for it to be heterogeneous, because as long as it increases in some part of the economy or in some sections of the economy, it'll create enough consumer surplus that'll pull the economy up. That's right. So like that's sort of my view on the latter. It's like efficiency, productivity, consumer surplus, roughly. Yeah, like
And it's-
that's my.
I think it's completely changed the way AI has completely changed the way I think about how to allocate people resources for sure. Like for example, we used to look at it and say, okay, we're going to pay a CSM to manage a book of business, and that book of business is, let's say it's
$2 million.
Yeah, it's like 8 times the salary sort of thing. It's like what we're looking at basically in this context. And so like you do the math on that and you say, okay, that makes sense. But AI's kind of changed that, and it's like I don't know that makes sense anymore. Actually, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But there's actually a world in which like there's a higher leverage way of using that person's time. So it's not now to manage this book of business that's 8 times their salary. It's now to do this other thing that's 16 times their salary. In terms of the impact of that. So yeah, it used to be like I think I would think of things in terms of what is the revenue that's coming in and how much of that revenue are we okay to allocate towards certain activities. And I think that's still how the math will work out long term. But I think in the short term, it's just very unclear where the actual value is there, if that makes sense.
You know what I keep seeing on X whenever I open up X and I don't go to my list? I see people saying there's so much software getting made and no one's using any of it, right? And I feel like this flies in the face of exactly what we're saying. Like people are building productive things, whether it's for their business, it's for other people, for their business and for other people in the process. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there are two separate stories. People are black and white, right? It's like AI is great, but actually it's not that great. Or AI is great and look at all these great things that we're able to do with it, right? Yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on that? On that, like two fundamentally different realities that
Both
seem
are
to be
true.
emerging. Yeah,
Both are true.
Mhm.
Both are true. And I see both true everywhere, including inside my own company. Yeah, both are true. Like the big issue is that because it's like you get a toy and you're like, I'm just going to play with the toy. So there's a bunch of people building software because it's fun to do so. And they like are going to just build a bunch of stuff and they're not going to think at all about how useful it is. By the way, this is also why even though team sizes relative to revenue by any given company are reducing massively, the total number of job openings is going up because people need a different type of person inside of their company, us included. And that's the huge kerfuffle that everyone is in. It is like the biggest retraining society will have to go through over the next 3 years. It's like, remember how we used to have like teaching people how to use computers in like the late 90s, early 2000s? Do you remember this?
Yeah, like
There was a
work classes and stuff for people.
Yeah, like you teach them how to use Word, you teach them how to use Excel. We're in that era of AI. Okay? And that sounds so ridiculous to say out loud, but it is true, right? We're in the like you have to remind. I mean, I don't know, Jack, if you were like able to walk by then, but you were like in the late 90s. I actually literally don't know how old you are, which is also funny.
I'm
But in the
30.
late 90s, what?
I'm 30.
You're 30? Okay,
Mm.
okay.
So you
Okay,
would have
so
been
you were
like
4.
Yeah, 3, 4.
Okay. But there was literally like whatever little institutes popping up all over the world with like a bunch of computers where you would go in and like learn how to use Word, learn how to use the internet, learn how to use Excel, like all of these things, like learn how to use the Microsoft suite. And for a long time, people had on their resumes like proficient in Word, Excel, Internet Explorer.
Yeah, dude, when I graduated college, that was that was it. Was the proficiency in Microsoft products basically on your resume?
Yeah, and the hangover of that like was like a long time actually, right? Like I mean, at least until I graduated college, which was like 2009, right? And so like think about that, right? It's like even somehow I thought it was a good idea in 2009 to say proficient in Microsoft Word. Okay, that's like an insane thing to. Can you imagine saying that right now? You would look like you've lost your rockers. You know, it's like this. What's happening? Anyway, that's where we are in AI, and that's So I don't know how to. Yeah, I don't know how to reconcile that.
What's interesting too is that that's where we are right now, and also like in theory, that AI is going to continue to accelerate and get better and better, which means that curve, that learning curve, is going to exist for a very long time. This isn't like at that time you could probably go spend, I don't know, let's say you go do one of these classes once a week. In a couple of months, you probably are fairly proficient at these tools. That's not going to be the case with AI. Like you could go do that. You could go spend let's say you do get proficient with using it in the way that it's capable today by spending an hour once a week for a couple of months, which I don't think you could. But anyway, if you did, you're going to have to go back in 6 months and in another 6 months and another 6 months to relearn all the new things that are coming. So it's just like that doesn't last you for 10 years anymore. It lasts you for probably not even 6 months, 3 months, whatever that is.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It is
I think
brutal.
if you look at these people who are, proficient in these tools and then obviously need to upskill to stay useful, think about how much brain drain there is in all of law and finance, tax. If these industries shrink meaningfully, we could have a huge amount of incredible talent, and new incredible talent, right? The young people these days that are studying law and finance and just concerning themselves with those problems. If these industries massively shrink because of automation and technology, man, we could have a lot of incredible people back in, doing things that are a little bit more productive, right? Not just the Microsoft Word people as well, and they're great as well, right? Like if you're somebody who's upskilling and learning the software that's required for your, for your job, right, and your career, you're also a very useful person as long as you can upskill, right? But man, there's entire industries out there that could that are a genuine brain drain and could actually like shift a huge amount of very talented workforce and upcoming workforce back into I don't know, making an app for mechanics or whatever it is, right?
I do think that just connecting to the earlier point, dude, the demand on judgment has gone up so much because of like what you're describing, Jack. Like just tying together the three different points of like people, like you said earlier, like, hey, some people like some people are building a lot of stuff, but it's not getting used, and like some people are building stuff and it is productive, and then like we're at the very beginning, and then what you just said, the tax on judgment is very high. So it's not only do you have to know how to use the tools, those tools, like you said earlier, cannot be used to produce slop. They have to be used to produce things that are actually useful. And that requires very good judgment. And using very good judgment requires you being highly curious, right? Because it's like, how are you going to know what's useful to someone unless you ask? And you're not going to like, you know what I mean? And
100%.
so I think that those top skills are going to shift very fast from executional skills to judgment skills, which is basically creativity, curiosity, and kindness. No one's going to tell you what they want unless you're kind to them. You're not going to know unless you're curious, and you're not going to know how to think about it unless you're creative. And it's like my like that has been my locus of like how there's this whole thing about like what do you tell your kids to do right now? And it's like actually I'm like teaching my kids those three things. I'm like, and I don't care at all about execution skills. I don't care about math. I don't care like all of this stuff. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is useless. I mean, like I spent so much of my life learning this shit. And it's like it's done fucking nothing for me.
I still think the problem solving ability that you get out of those things is useful though, if that makes sense. Like the ability to think, like math, for example. Like what I love seeing my daughter learn how to connect the dots between 10 ones and 1 10 being the same thing, because that's like your brain figuring out how to make patterns. And I think you need that for good judgment. Because ultimately, like that is like how the way that you have good judgment is that you have enough context and enough knowledge and enough ability to say, I'm willing to make a decision about this thing, that you actually can like do that and cross that gap of lack of information. But I think you need enough understanding of patterns of behavior and behavior is not the right word there, but anyway, like you have to have enough pattern recognition ability to basically execute that judgment, if that makes sense. So that's
I think it might be something we take for granted. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you just speak to people who don't have problem-solving skills, and or like the ability to have a conversation that spans more than 10 minutes. There's people out there who really struggle with some fairly basic things. Yeah, I think that maybe math helps.
I think basic math skills help is all I'm saying.
Yeah. I
There's
think
no point in calculus. There's no point in all those kinds of things anymore, right? Like, anyway, yeah, I agree on that front, but I do think some of the basics matter.
Can I tell you the number one area where I see the biggest difference right now amongst the people at the company who are exceptional versus where it's like fine is high EQ skills. Like, like when someone says something to me or doesn't say something to me based on their body language, based on how they're showing up, based on what they're thinking, and can that person detect what is actually going on? Like, what are the feelings of the other person? How are they, like, what are they internalizing? What is their inner monologue? Dude, the value of that is 10x the math skills. It's like, can this person pick up on what is the other person actually thinking about, and what are they excited about, and what are they worried about, and all that sort of stuff. And the dearth of that skill is inordinate. Like, I almost can't believe that we don't teach it. First of all, we don't teach it at all anywhere in our education system, which is ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous.
I will say my daughter's school does teach some of that, which is really nice. So that is good. But I agree. Like, I didn't grow up being taught any of that. That was not ever a part of what we learned. It was all IQ focused, not EQ focused. And I agree that like the IQ doesn't matter. I knew some people with very high IQ that didn't have enough EQ, and I'd rather be higher EQ than IQ.
Yeah.
I think that's because you have a high IQ. I think so. If I don't know, guys, it's a real problem. I don't think you can have a high EQ without having
you want to balance, right? Like it's
right.
Yeah, Jack, there's also like you're making a absolute value judgment, but there's a relative value issue too.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Right? It's like the relative value of high EQ, if high IQ is in abundance, is way higher than the high IQ.
Yeah, to go from you're better off with, I don't know, if you have a 90th percentile IQ with high EQ, that is far better than a 95th percentile IQ with a low EQ.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The relative value issue. Yeah.
I wonder where the conversation goes from here for a lot of the topics that we talk about. I'd love to have Cody on and see some practical uses of how it's done well, right? What it is that he's finding and really supporting in his business that he's building personally himself. Because I think the only way is up, right? This technology only gets better, but yeah, how it gets used, how it transforms, and where this goes, right? Because we could have this conversation for the rest of the year, right? The AI is amazing. Value is concentrating what continues to be scarce, like judgment, right? Or EQ. But yeah, how are those problems actually getting solved at the end of the day, right? Where does it go?
Yeah, I think the practical impact of it right now relative to other times or later, I mean, maybe it'll play out over the rest of the year. It's just, how do you manage your team? Like, the practical operating impact of this dialogue is, how do you think about who do you hire and what is their job and what are you grading them on? And that has shifted meaningfully over the last 3 months. First of all, you have to judge people not by their AI usage, but the judgment that they use in their AI usage. And then secondly, because AI is abstracting away, or like amongst, like, let's call it 80th to 95th percentile IQ, you're like, I don't care where you are in this band. What I care is like, how good are you when I put you in front of a customer, figuring out what they're thinking and why they're thinking it and how they're feeling and what they're going to do next. Because that has just way more value now. Because I can't get the other person to move unless I know what they care about. And so, like, the practical impact of this discussion is, like, right now in real time, it is playing out in how you organize your team. I mean, I can't overshare, but that's the practical impact, right? And everyone is thinking that whether they say it or not. So
a high IQ person with low EQ needs to be managed. And that's part of this too, is like, you need people who can actually execute on their own. If you got the IQ but not the EQ, you can't do that. You need somebody telling you what to do.
Yeah.
I wonder how much there has to be like a shift of focus into those things that remain to be scarce. Like, so we saw like barriers to entry break down in, I don't know, Shopify. Shopify's close to all of us. So, a huge amount of brands coming online. Shopify's main source of churn is brands that don't make it and, don't execute properly. There's no judgment there. So there are some brands that have incredible judgment and are thriving, and those are, our customers. So yeah, I wonder if changing the focus to the things that are actually continue to be scarce, right? That might be more art, it might be creativity, like you said, and emotional intelligence. All of these things that don't get solved by super intelligence and increasing execution power, right? That might be the right place to, separate from judgment, right? That, crucially important, right? To get it right, to aim in the right direction. But maybe it's also, what is it that's becoming scarce and becoming really valuable to lean into, right? Separate from the intelligence stuff. Because you could be like right at the forefront of utilization of AI and then realize that like actually a huge amount of value is, accruing in, I don't know, attention, and how are we getting attention? It's not just dollars spent, right? It's how are those dollars spent, right? What are we creatively doing, right? Maybe that's all, we can boil that all down to judgment. But yeah, I don't know. Might be an interesting topic to talk to Cody about. Right.